Hello everybody. The European Union is set to roll out a Digital Service Act by the end of the week. They are engaging in a warfare against big tech again, but not on your behalf, of course, but against you. Facebook has already announced that they will shift the user agreement of the United Kingdom to California because they don't want to linger around with the EU draconian measures more than necessary. And it says a lot about the European Union when suddenly California becomes the libertarian regulatory haven. According to the EU Observer, 6% of the turnover can be penalized, or can be the penalty for not removing fast enough hate speech, child pornography, or corona disinformation. The German broadcaster Deutsche Welle speaks of 10% of the turnover that is susceptible to punishment. So I'm not quite sure what number is correct, either 6% or 10%. But anyways, those penalties are supposed to be applied for hate speech, child pornography, and corona disinformation. And of course, nobody wants that. People believe jumping from a bridge were the best vaccination against COVID-19, for example, as well as child pornography. But ask yourself, is that actually the problem, or are they using this to target the third group, this hate speech problem from their point? I personally think that child pornography isn't a major issue. Even Gab and Minds and everybody who is usually for free speech would not allow, I don't know, the connection of a political message, a point that somebody tries to make with child pornography. Okay, that's the kind of embellishment or worsening of embellishment from the creep's perspective that you don't want. Okay, we all agree that freedom of speech has some limits, and child pornography is one consensus that we all agree on. But given that there is already such a large consensus, it is also unnecessary for the legislature to do anything right now. Additionally, Gab and Minds have also taken down videos when somebody was shooting up places, like in Christchurch, for example. That is not an issue. It's just pretend that this were an issue because this is the largest consensus they have in the public, to go after something else. And that hate speech, we have learned by now, is never about some insults, and most insults, quite frankly, is to be taken on the chin. What they want is that policy change cannot be debated, that you cannot democratically negotiate your interests anymore, and that all criticism of Islam, of homosexuals, of the pet groups of the left will be muted. That's what they want. They don't bother about insults. In fact, people on the left tend to be rather offensive themselves, right? The EU Observer reports that firms will also have to disclose who pays for ads and how their algorithms prioritize content. This is something that struck me when I listened to Ursula von der Leyen's address to the Union, and I found that she was saying something really stupid that she repeated this weekend. She says that she embraces artificial intelligence, AI, and at the same time, which is impossible, she wants to remove all black boxes from algorithms and have total transparency. What is behind that approach, or the panic the EU officials have right now, is that Ursula von der Leyen is not qualified to regulate the things she tries to regulate. She has no basic understanding of how algorithms work and how computers work, and there is nobody around her that would tell her that she isn't qualified enough, and that she has to listen, and that she has to read up a little bit to make reasonable decisions. She sees every objection to her authoritarianism as a prevarication and tries to crack down ever further, and this hits the limits of pure mathematics. I will explain that to you with the speech she gave this weekend to receive an award. I don't know what the hell that award was for. Our elites give mutual awards to one another. It's quite ridiculous anyways, and funny. But anyway, she used this opportunity to give a speech on what she thinks artificial intelligence does and how she wants to regulate it.
To accept a role for AI in such decisions, they must be comprehensible. And they must respect people's legal rights
Sorry for that unclean beginning. I don't know myself what she is grammatically referring to exactly. It was uploaded like this. I have no earlier footage of the speech. But anyways, she is saying here that the artificial intelligence must be comprehensible. And the thing is that artificial intelligence cannot be observed, cannot be understood. The machine learns things on its own. And how this is done is that you give the machine a number of examples to learn from, like what is the picture of a dog, what is the picture of a cat, for example. And then the machine will store in parameters of the neuronal net, as it is called, some numbers, okay? And these numbers are changing with the example, with the examples given, and the network is learning. It's learning what can be a picture of a dog and what can be the picture of a cat. And this is really in the numbers of these parameters. And if you see, I don't know, 0.3582, etc., you cannot draw back the line to what decision this actually belongs to, and what the computer actually does to identify whether this is the ear of a cat or the ear of a dog, or the tail of a cat and the tail of a dog. This is really something that is a black box by nature, okay? And when Ursula von der Leyen gave her stupid speech to the union, she spoke about removing black boxes from algorithms. That is in itself a fight against artificial intelligence. And because she has absolutely nobody around her who dares to talk to her and say, well, this is something you do not understand, let me explain it to you. Can I help you? No, she won't, okay? She won't listen. And instead, she thinks that a neuronal net, the job of which is what I just explained, to identify things like an image of a cat or of a dog or whatever it is, or in this case the preferences, the video that's most likely to be watched by a consumer given the input. Well, this is infringing on people's rights. So she claims or thinks that her toaster is possibly taking over the world. She has this Hollywood image of what artificial intelligence is in mind. There is no way that a machine that is identifying patterns can take over the world or can infringe on people's rights.
And this is why we have to be able to examine the workings of the system and to ensure human oversight. Our aim is to create an AI ecosystem of trust.
So here again, she admits that she wants to look into the inner workings of the parameters, you know, the inner workings of the numbers. She wants to look into those, and that this will be rolled out also to America. There will be a human oversight over these numbers and how they are interpreted. Good luck. But the thing is that she, and you have probably noticed that Google is, of course, doing things, are flipping around the search results. It's not just what you're most interested in that is shown you in the recommendations. What is happening instead is that after the neuronal net, the selection of what is most likely to interest you, there is a human interference. But the problem she has, and this is driving her the tears in the eyes. She's winning an award, totally unknown award, nobody cares. And she's having tears in her eyes because she has no understanding, and she's afraid of the fact that there is something human beings, authoritarians, cannot control. There is a black box in that entire process that no authoritarian can steer around. They can fish around with the stuff that comes after the neuronal net. So after the machine has already detected what you want to see, people can still, twist and turn, and they do. But she cannot regulate all the process.
This is our European way of dealing with AI. Yes, Europe embraces innovation and entrepreneurship. And yes, we are eager to explore the full potential of AI, for example, for our industry and services, the health sector. But we will never lose sight of those who are meant to benefit from these technological wonders, our citizens, our people. What sets Europe apart from competitors like China is not the size of our tech sector or how attractive we are for venture capital. What sets Europe apart from competitors is the fact that our values come first.
And it comes to show how deep the authoritarianism still runs in her and in many Germans, unfortunately, still today. So there is this last bit that she cannot control, and she wants to eliminate something that can mathematically not be eliminated. The perfect control over all algorithms while still having some sort of artificial intelligence. You can't have everything. You can't have the good of innovation and, also everything that's connected to it. This is not just related to computers, but everything that's connected to it. You can't have the good of market economies and prosperity, and also at the same time, total control for the authoritarians. This is also reminiscent of how the left treats Fox News and so on. They see these last niches of free speech, and even that is too much for them, and they want to crack down. So they go after supposed child pornography, a thing they couldn't care less about. There were political parties on the left that were actually asking for the legalization of child pornography. But they are using the largest consensus to actually go after something else, and that is this last bit of control over the public discourse that they still don't have. This is how deep authoritarianism still runs on the political left, on a lot of Germans still today. And to illustrate this point, particularly from the German angle, because a lot of what is happening in Silicon Valley is actually inspired by the thinking of the Germans who are bossing Silicon Valley around like crazy and have inspired this almost Chinese mindset they have to censorship. So I want to illustrate that with the gushing of the German broadcaster, a public broadcaster, Deutsche Welle. They have uploaded a video on YouTube, a part of which they have placed on their website as another video. And this gushing starts with a headline, which is "The EU could revolutionize how big tech does business in Europe." So we are seeing a revolution. We are seeing a big change, and you got to better enjoy it, right? So let's have a look into the video that they have uploaded on YouTube.
Tech giants will have to change the way they do business in Europe or face fines of up to 10% of worldwide turnover. The EU's draft rules are designed to rein in the power of the American companies and bring order to chaos. Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg and other tech bosses control troves of data and platforms on which thousands of companies and millions of Europeans rely on.
So here you see already the framing. There is the powerful Americans who are potentially oppressing these poor little Europeans. And you have Mark Zuckerberg, who said in the past that he likes regulation, which is, of course he does. Like a lot of big companies, they want to keep competitors out, and the best way from their perspective to do that is some unnecessary regulation that small competitors can't keep up with. He continues with a little snippet from a speech of Margarete Vestager, in one of the EU commissioners.
Two proposals, they serve one purpose: to make sure that we, as users, as customers, businesses, have access to a wide choice of safe products and services online, just as well as we do in the physical world. And that all businesses operating in Europe, that can be big ones, that can be small ones, that they can freely and fairly compete online, just as they do offline. Because this is one world.
And what she says here is something that the EU, of course, does not want the big tech actually to do. They want total control, and a few corporations working with them is better than a market of companies competing with one another. What she actually tries to do is to blame these big tech companies for a different reason. They try to shame Americans, because that has been a long-standing policy of the EU since the 90s. They went after Microsoft in the same way. They actually just want the money. Okay, they want to create some penalties for all kind of things, and they want to get money out of these corporations. They don't want a competition of these platforms with other players. The thing is, there would be, of course, an option of creating a competition, but neither in America nor in Europe I see anything going forward. So what would be needed is that there is an interface or a law for an interface built into those technologies that allows competing platforms to receive all notifications that a user of a given platform already receives through that competing platform, so that the notification systems can be connected, which is technologically possible. What they need is they must be able to notify a response to a given post. That is also technologically possible, an interface that allows this to happen. What is then impossible is that platforms ban a user completely, because then he could just log into a different platform and still respond to given posts of other users. This would limit their abilities to restrict speech. And of course, what you need in that interface as a third thing is that the user of the platform, not the platform, but a user to a platform, can ban a response from this or that individual. And by the way, this snippet he plays ends with because this is one world. And this is a trademark of what I call Brussels English. These people don't really speak English. They always use the same terms again and again and again, because they have no in-depth knowledge into anything and they can't make arguments. And a lot of these people are also authoritarian. So everything that follows a because must be short and is a sudden drop off that makes no sense. Usually you have somebody who makes an argument, or at least in the English-speaking world, who makes an argument, and then there are a lot of because and the explanations. In continental Europe, you don't hear any because sentences a lot, and then they fall down with because this is the world, because we like the future, because innovation matters. Follows is that little video that I've already mentioned under the blog post of Deutsche Welle, which was headlined with "The EU could revolutionize how big tech does business in Europe."
The European Commission used an advent calendar to announce its updated digital rules, a long-awaited chocolate treat for many people. Some say this new legislation could change the internet as we know it.
For starter, this is very typical of German news. You hear a lot of Germans complaining about American news, and usually everybody agrees because the news are crap in all countries. And the thing is that they point to Fox News as extremely biased, but you see here how it works in Germany. It is extremely infantilizing. They're talking about chocolates and treats, and it's awaited, and everybody is now happy like children before Christmas or on Christmas. This is very biased, but they will insist, and even more so than CNN, that they are perfectly neutral people who will separate commentary from actual news.
Studies show, for example, that Google's online shopping search engine is still disadvantaging rivals, despite a regulatory crackdown 3 years ago. Or let's take a look at YouTube, owned by Google.
What they show here with this example is what I said is happening after the artificial intelligence portion of the process. So after that, they are of course manipulating the content order that can be seen by the user. It's quite funny that they complain about YouTube because everybody knows who they are privileging on YouTube, and it's actually Deutsche Welle.
Companies like YouTube collect data from users. This information then feeds algorithms that decide which ads and which content we see online. It is not transparent how it works.
So here she's also contemplating that big problem the EU totalitarians have. It is not transparent how the algorithm works, yes, because it is self-amending, right? It is self-changing Quite naturally, it is how I explained. They are saving parameters to identify things. And an algorithm, by the way, that's not something that the Muslims have invented, only because there's L at the beginning of the word. No, an algorithm is just a procedure, okay? That's a different and alternative word, a synonym for a procedure, okay? And these people say, oh, these data are fed into a procedure, and you're supposed to be vowed, and okay, so now you have to have this this insight into the procedure. However, it is a self-changing, self-amending procedure. That's what is at the heart of this, and none of these people can acknowledge that they have no understanding of what's going on. And by the way, the wetty eyes of Ursula von der Leyen in the previous video showed to me that these people are desperate, almost mental, about the fact that they cannot control everything.
The EU's legal framework for the internet is 20 years old, when the World Wide Web was completely different. It is time for an update, but it could take years to be implemented, as different EU institutions have to agree on a common line.
So here again we have new neutrality. It is high time that we get something, and what is in the way is some sort of separation of power. There are different institutions that have to work together instead of just one top-down authority decides everything for everybody. So these are the common memes that you usually see. The video goes on. I could actually run through a lot of other typical mindsets that actually are fueling all of this, and is increasingly influencing how Silicon Valley operates, because quite frankly the European Union is a big market, and they want to appease the lawmakers in the EU, and you better pay attention what is going on here if you want to foresee what is coming next to you now under the Biden administration in America, for example, but also everywhere else where you live in the UK and so on. The sheer clout of their power is enormous, and it will trickle down through the corporations and affect your life. That was it for today, and I'll see you soon. Bye.